Hello, everybody. Welcome to Analyze, Integrate, Optimize, a space where we'll be diving into the ins and outs of logistics, supply chain, and business processes. I'll be sharing insights on how to streamline operations, boost efficiency, tackle challenges with a touch of creativity, and a little bit of guitar as well. Let's explore how we can make things flow smoother for your companies one step at a time. Stay tuned. Today we'll get to know each other better. We'll talk about how I got to create my own company, where it all started, the challenges and lessons learned along the way, the impact of having terrible leaders as an employee. Basically, you're gonna get to know me. So let me tell you my story. So my first gig was in a flower growing company. We had a farm in Colombia, and then my initial duties there was just to control the inventory, right? It's the supplies inventory, like nails and bolts and plastics and chemicals and all that crap. And then I eventually had to take care of also shipping the flowers, right? There was a truck that came in every day to pick it up, and then I had to count flowers, create a dispatch of some kind, and then deliver it to the guys. And then eventually I was assigned the billing duty, which was doing the same thing, plus now the invoice, right? And then, I mean, that was so easy. It was, I don't know, it took 2 hours of my day probably with 8 hours shift. So I was bored. I had nothing to do. So I started playing around with the information that I had at that time, which was how many flowers did I cut that day, how much money did I sell them for, and then also how much inventory we were spending every single month. I mean, the cost of that inventory, because when I received inventory at the warehouse, I had the vendors' bills, right? So I had three.
You had to harvest the flowers of the crop?
No, no. I mean, the ladies cut the flowers, they harvest them, and they put it into water in a like a post harvest zone, right?
Oh, okay, I got you. Okay.
Yep. And then I just went there to count. So 3 yellow ones, 2 boxes of white ones and red ones and whatever. So yeah, I did that. But then I have the information, and it's very important because in the flowers world, the colors determine the price depending on the season. Like in St. Valentine's, red is super expensive. In Mother's Day, yellow and pinks are expensive, and reds are worthless, and it works like that. So
That's crazy.
it is, yeah, I know. So I was learning, but not also was I learning, but I have this natural inclination of doing stuff with information that I have. And I have key pieces of information: revenue, cost, and what else did I have? Yeah, like piece count or something like that, if you wanna measure it like that. How many flowers and how much they sell for and how much it costs to produce those flowers, because of all the bills that I receive from vendors and the actual consumption of those different supplies. Because it's one thing when a truck arrives with a lot of plastic every year or every 2 years. I don't remember how often they change those greenhouses plastics. And then that's a lot of money that is recorded in the accounting today, but it lasts 2 years, right? Is different when a vendor comes in with wood or bolts or nails, and then they invoice the whole order at once. But that's not actually how you use those supplies in the warehouse. You start using little by little. Yeah, every day a guy goes and tells me I need 10 bolts to repair this and that, right? So I started recording that and trying to get the actual cost of that was actually used every single month. And then I enjoy doing that in the computer. I had never used Excel in my life. I didn't even have a computer at home growing up. Like most kids have I did I did not know. My first computer, I believe I was like 21 or something like that. So
21 for your first computer?
I know. So of course I've seen computers before. I mean, I live in little towns, but it was in the jungle. At school we had computers, and we learned like basic stuff in on those computers. But it was 2 hours of class every week. That's it. And then after I joined this company, and I got this gig. I was just happy to be able to use that computer, and I mean internet and all that was super new to me. Um, so it wasn't work for me. I was, first of all, I was doing something that nobody asked me to do, so it was like using my time and doing something that was fun to me. And second, I was interested in creating. I would say I am creative. I mean, you can see my instruments here. But I started to do, you know what, let's calculate how much money are we making, how much money are we spending, hence how much money we're, what's the actual profit of the operation. And then little by little I started to do statistics in terms of revenue cost, by flower, by bunch, by box, by greenhouse, by a square meter, by, I just got creative with the numbers. I just started to try to measure a lot of different things, uh, just trying to think what would my boss appreciate if I present to him. And then eventually I sit down with him and show him, like, hey, this is something that I've been working on for a couple of weeks. I don't know if it makes sense, but I believe it's useful. Boom. And then I show him that, and he was kind of impressed. But at the same time, he was a young person. I was 18, he was 21, so he was only 3 years older than me. And he was the type of people who didn't want to accept that there's somebody smarter than him. He had to be he had to be he had to be the most, the smartest person in the room. Always everybody else was an idiot. And that's pretty much what happened during 13 years working with him.
Wait, he didn't pay you for it? Like you didn't get any like money out of that?
No, I had a salary. I have a minimum wage at the time. I mean, he wasn't. I mean, it wasn't part of my role. I was the inventory guy. I was the warehouse guy. That's it. I unloaded.
Much more than just warehouse.
Yeah, but because for the sake of fun, it was fun to me. That's it. My real duty was offload those fucking trucks myself with those 50 kilos, bags, and then deliver whatever the crowd requests. That's it. That was it. It was just out of creativity and boredom. So okay, so I did that, and then yeah, that definitely was interesting. So much so that he started trusting my numbers more than the accounting software, the accounting reports, or any of that. That became irrelevant. That was formality, right? As a company, you have to do your taxes and your payroll and your bookkeeping and whatever. That's fine. But then when it comes to decision making, you need some figures that are more adjusted to the reality and the workflow of the operation, and that was my statistics, right? And then as the business grew, and then we started selling more and more and more, the flour produced by the crop wasn't enough, so we had to buy flowers from other from other farms. And then, of course, he noticed my abilities and appreciated my abilities in a sense. And then I was the person in charge of buying those flowers and controlling those incoming flows of inventories. And then we had to pay those vendors back. And then he trusted me and my ability to handle data to do that, right? You have to.
Were you still like gaining minimum wage at this point?
I would say so. Yeah. I mean, it was. I remember my salary when I first joined. I joined that company like in September or something like that, And my salary was so low that the next year, because of the minimum wage increase, my salary was less than the minimum wage. So he had to increase, he had to increase, he had to increase my salary a little over the minimum wage so that I was better paid than the people cutting flowers in the farm. you know, that was my salary. Let's say that level of salary plus inflation and whatever was pretty much my salary for 3 years or so. So, but anyway, I mean, I was 18, 19, 20, you know, I was on a lot. Yeah. Then, okay. So we started purchasing those flowers, and then, it turns out our main client was, is one of those flower companies in Miami that consolidate a lot of flowers from a lot of different farms, and most of their products are sold to the Walmarts and the Publix and all those big chain supermarkets. So those people have very strong procedures, and they are very detailed in how you have to pack the flower bunches, how you have to label them, how you have to stick the UPCs, because it's all done at the farm. You might think that it's done in Miami or at Walmart. No, those flowers go straight from the farm to the vases in the supermarket, ready with prices and wrapping and everything, right?
Walmart and those people, they don't like
They
actually
don't. They
handle.
open the boxes and put them in water. That's it.
That's crazy.
That is how the business operation goes. There are some that, yeah, they fly like bulk boxes with flowers from Colombia or Ecuador to Miami, and then they do some special bunches or whatever. That has happened, but most of the volume is ready from the farm. So, I would say that was kind of my first approach to a technology demanding customer, because it was UPCs, but in order to print those UPCs properly and make sure the ladies on the tables were sticking the right UPC to the right bunch, you need some kind of process and control to make sure nobody screw up. Because if a yellow flower bunch of roses pops up in Walmart with a red label UPC in San Valentine's, then it's going to be a mess, right? It's going to be a customer upset or a mismatch in prices. What I don't even know. At the time, I didn't even understand what that would imply, but now I do. So yeah, I was doing a little bit of quality control, a lot of technology, let's say assistance. The customer was at the farm, overseeing the operation every day, and I was kind of the person guiding them through stuff. Then it was then the time for me to get involved into the export side of things. So not only was I controlling inventory and doing quality control and billing and assisting all the post-harvest activities, but also I started learning from the lady that was in charge. She was leaving the company, how to export. So I had to start coordinating with the freight forwarders, with the customs brokers, with the farms, because sometimes the farm, came out of our let's say farm, the flower, I'm sorry, came out of our farm, but sometimes it came out of other farms on our behalf. But it still was our booking with the airline, right? So a truck from another farm went to the airport to deliver the flower, and I don't know how many times that happened. I would say at least 5 times. The labeling was wrong. It was midnight. The cargo was about to be loaded to the plane, and then I had to rush, print labels, stick them to boxes at midnight, 1 to 3 a.m. in the morning inside a truck that is 3 degrees Celsius, and make sure that freaking shipment went through. Otherwise, we wouldn't fulfill a Walmart order, and that's a huge penalty and a huge problem for the client.
And you had to like supervise the whole process? Like that was
Kind of, yeah. I mean, technically, everything is ready from the office. So all the documentation, the box labeling, the reservation with the airline, all those things are supposed to be perfect and done in advance. But stuff happens. Maybe you book 10 boxes with the airline, and the farm on the deliver 8 because they couldn't cut enough flowers that day. And then you have to go relabel, redo all the airway bill. I mean, everything. So
That's
Yeah.
tough.
that's the logistics business. So, I mean, there's so many different stories about the flower business. And the funny thing is, I mean, life is crazy sometimes. It was my first job. And my last job, even though that was not in the flower business, but in the logistics business, I was implementing Magaya in Miami for my boss's company, but doing the opposite. We were not only now being the freight forwarder in Colombia and Ecuador, booking and collecting all those boxes from all the different farms, but we were also at the other end of the operation, receiving in Miami from all those different flights, consolidating in a cooler, and then dispatching the orders that the clients in Miami would request to us, right? Like our clients, who in that case were the importers, now would tell me, okay, from this airway bill, please ship 3 boxes to this client, or somebody's picking up, or whatever, stuff like that. So now I was in the other end of the line, implementing Magaya in order to control what we receive, to control the orders that the clients would put, to control the deliveries, the billing, the everything. I mean, even the cooler maintenance was under my responsibilities, because the flower has to have any certain temperature. Sorry, and if it exceeds that temperature, then gets screwed. And yeah, I was in charge of all of that.
Were you still working with the same boss?
The same, but yeah, that was 13 years later. That was 13 years later, and that was when I quit. So I started with flowers and ended with flowers. That's really crazy. I had never thought about that, but that's how it happened.
Flowers did make you the man you are today.
What is it? What was that?
The flowers did make you the man that you are today. Thank you, flowers.
Thank you, flowers. Yeah, exactly. So it was crazy. It was funny. I quit this job because a pattern was being repeated once again. This I don't want to say names, so let's call him Mr. Satan. Mr.
It is a good name.
Mr. Satan he had different problems, and those his issues are probably my best lessons, right? That because seeing him run the business the way he did, it just shows me exactly what I should never do, right? That's the main lesson. Whatever he does, just don't do it, and you'll be fine. So that's pretty much what I learned from him. So I mean, was a great guy in a way, but I don't know. I don't know what his problem is. But the first thing his main problem, or one of his main problems, is he didn't trust anybody. He believed everybody was trying to steal from him, and everybody was stupid except him. He was the only genius in the planet. He was the only person who made good decisions. That's the first thing. Not trusting absolutely anybody to think about anything, right? Another problem is he never really appreciated people as humans. If to me, it was like everybody was people who needed money from his business. That's how he treated employees, right? It's like somebody who needs money. He has a business where he can provide that money as the payoff for a job, but it wasn't really like team members or like family. To me, employees are more like friends, because I spend freaking 12 hours of my day with them. I don't want to treat them like strangers. I want close relationships. So that was another problem. And then the third problem, which is a serious one. I mean, there are many, but this is another one that I realized back then. Now I realize there's more and even deeper than those I just mentioned. But another one was believing. I mean, having ideas, that's good, but then realizing those ideas are not financially viable and still executing them and still lying to himself and thinking it's a good idea just because it was my idea. It's just a little bit of ego involved in there.
So he really didn't think his decisions through, like he just had an idea and just
So it's even worse like that. He ran some easy numbers on a paper and he determined it was a good business. And then we started doing the business. When I was in Miami, we realized he undersold. His pricing model was not well thought, and then we were losing money. And hold on, we were not only losing money because the color was damaged and we had to repair a lot of different things. No, it was because just the basic income cost was unbalanced and it wasn't profitable at all. And he thought it was because I don't know how he run some numbers and he decided this is a good price, right? When I realized that, I started telling him. So month number one, Mr. Satan, I was very respectful with him always until the last year where he totally lost my respect. So Mr. Satan, we lost $29,000 this month on this operation. That's impossible. It cannot be true. And then I was at that point, I mean, 13 years later, and after 5 semesters of university, because I never finished my college, I felt very, very confident to say, I'm not asking if you think it's true. I'm showing you the numbers. I mean, I do the bookkeeping myself. I freaking reconcile the bank myself. That's how I know about Magaya and bookkeeping. So I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. This is a notification of what happened last month, okay? That cannot be why, blah, blah, blah. Show me this and that. So I show him. So sales this, and everything is properly billed at the rates that you negotiated with the client. This is the cost, and this is the expenses this month, the cooler, the air conditioning, the desks, whatever. So minus 29K. All right.
What?
Month number
That's
2.
outrageous. Month number 2 into the operation?
No, that was the first. That was the first one. The second month, I did the exact same exercise. I did bookkeeping. I did everything. Everybody, the bank was perfectly reconciled. I made sure of that. Every single thing was properly billed. Because again, I'm good with data, so I know if an operation is invoiced or not. I'm good. I'm good at those type of things. That's exactly what we do for our clients at Innovo. So, month number 2, $60,000 red.
60,000?
Same
No,
reaction.
that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money for 2 months. Yeah, I would be scared. Now only that division, right? Because I wanted to measure that specific division. So. I told him, and then same reaction. That cannot be true. You have to be kidding me, blah, blah, blah. There's no way that we're losing that much. And then I said, you know what? I need to figure out a way to prove to this guy that I'm not freaking lying. I mean, why would I lie about the company that pays my salary? And actually, by that time, it was normal for him that, he owed 2 months of payroll and nothing happened. People just had to go to work and trust, because he was really good convincing people that everything's gonna be all right, including me, of course, for many years. And then I started digging deeper. I started to again run my numbers, grab Excel spreadsheet, and then play around a little bit and understand his pricing model. And then I told him, you know what? I got it. I figured it out. You sold this to be a permanent loss because we are not making enough money. I don't know how much you thought a truck would cost us from the airport to the cooler, and then from the cooler to all the different delivery destinations, but we are losing money because of the pricing. So he was closing deals because the clients thought, okay, this guy has been around for 13 years. He's been a flower producer. He's been a logistics entrepreneur. He has to know what he's doing. That's probably why he has good rates. So let's move with him because his pricing is great. It wasn't great. I mean, it was great for them, but he was losing money. So I run my analysis. He's the type of guy that he's there to face clients when things are good, but when something bad happens, he hides. Right? He just hides. When he's owing of course, I mean, I was in Miami facing the operation.
No.
I mean, what else would I do? So what happened next is I have to explain the situations to clients and renegotiate and tell them, hi, guys, I've been killing myself here trying to provide the best service, which I did. They were happy with the service. That was key to renegotiating. So I told them, we have a problem, and it is that, unfortunately, Mr. Satan screwed up. He ran the wrong numbers. He gave you these rates because he thought the business would support it, but it doesn't. So we are going out of business unless we renegotiate the terms. So I sat down with every single one of them, proposed the new prices because we already knew the prior prices that they were paying to the previous provider. So I told them it's still going to be cheaper than what you were paying, but it's not close to what you're paying today to us. So it was a big customer with a lot of volume and then a lot of different smaller customers. So I balanced things out in a way that it was fair based on their volume. All of them agreed. All of them, I would say they were so happy with the service that they agreed to that, new price arrangement. And then by the time I was in Miami, I stayed in Miami for 8 months. I was supposed to be there for a couple of weeks. I was supposed to be implementing the process and delegating the process to a manager. And I would come back to Colombia. And what happened is the manager flew to Miami to absorb the operation. But then my Mr. Satan told him, okay, you are the legal representative of the business. You are the manager of the business, but I will manage money. And he said, hell no, of course not. If I'm going to be the manager, I am in charge of everything. And they didn't agree. They kind of had a fight. So the manager just quit and went back to Colombia. That's the reason I had to take care of that operation, right? That's why...
You had to stay,
I
and he
had
would
to
still
stay.
control the money, like the finances.
Oh yeah.
No.
Yeah. I mean, I've been his oldest employee up to that point, but I still was a nobody, right? He trusted me, but he never made me feel like I was a valuable resource to the company or anything like that. Sometimes I even propose to him, you know what, you want us to succeed? Let me be an owner. I don't want 50% of the company, but give me 1% of the company and I will kill myself and I will make sure this thing works. Because if I am an owner and I have a say on the decisions we make, trust me, everything's going to work out. He never wanted to do it, not even a 1%. Right? So that's the type of guy. So I stayed. I applied for a U.S. work visa. I remember we had to meet a deadline, and if I wasn't approved, then I had to come back to Colombia or I would be illegal. And so that didn't happen. So I went back to Colombia or came back to Colombia. And then when I was here in Colombia, I showed him my plan. I not only renegotiated with all the clients, but I also created a plan. I told him, look, if we do this and this and this and that on December, and that was July or June, I told him on December, we are already positive. We're not making any money, but we close the gap, we recover the loss, and then next year it's only profit. Right? It's a volume business anyway. He said, "Thank you for planning that," but he was also always mixing personal stuff with the business related. So the finance management was terrible because of that, because he was using the company credit card to pay for his horse's food or the veterinary or stuff like that, like involving a lot of personal stuff that had nothing to do. And I mean, I agree up to a certain point, because we do similar stuff here, like rents and stuff. We are a virtual company. Let's say we don't have any physical location. We don't have offices and rents and stuff like that. So Innovo, Innovo, right? So why not paying my rent as a company expenditure? That's perfectly.
Innovo, like your own company? Are you the CEO? Wait, we missed a chapter here. Hold on. Back the track a little bit. You're a CEO now?
I am a CEO.
What?
I don't like to say I'm a CEO, but I am. I'm actually, let's say I'm not a CEO. I am a Chief Process Optimization Officer.
Oh my God, that was a plot twist. That was a whole plot twist. Okay, keep going, keep going.
So that's normal, right? But you have to have control. I mean, if you're the owner, the main source of revenue, the main salesperson, whatever, good. Put yourself a good salary. That's it. If the business can afford it, why not? But you cannot be having a good salary plus using the credit cards to purchase personal stuff, plus business expenditure that are your rent, your car, that doesn't make any sense to me. So yeah, management was terrible. The cash flow in the finances, it was improper. So you could never really count on the resources, even if you were recovering cash flow, because now you increase the prices and all your clients agree. You never knew where that money was going. So maybe he just took it to another business or another division or another activity that had nothing to do with my division. And then I'm screwed because I have no money. Then I cannot pay the vendors. I cannot pay the trucks. I cannot pay the airlines. I can now not release the flour from the airline. So I cannot take it to the cooler. So I cannot dispatch, and that was the gravity of everything that happened. And again, it was me being responsible to people, because that's all I care about. Business come and go. That's normal. Of course, you always try to create a business in order to be successful and do okay and generate some wellness to yourself and the people that work with you. But to me, the most important thing was what's going to happen to our clients if I can no longer deliver their orders. I mean, what's Walmart going to do to them if all of a sudden one day they just cannot fulfill an order because it's stuck at the airport because we cannot pay the freight or even the truck, So I anticipated, because I would say one of the main advantages of deal with data is being able to predict. And I did just that. I predicted that in a certain amount of days or weeks, we were not, being able to pay truckloads anymore. Hence, our clients were going to lose the flour. It's going to be rot in the airport. So I called all of them. Again, he wasn't going to do that. He wasn't going to face them to tell them, hey, I'm sorry, nothing. So I told him, guys, please don't book any flights with us anymore. Please, find another freight forwarder, find another cooler, find another vendor that distributes the flowers in Miami, because I don't know how long we will stay in business. I don't think it's going to be more than a couple of weeks. So please do that now. Otherwise, your flour might end up you know, rotten in a warehouse at the airport.
Oh, that's very thoughtful of you. That's very thoughtful.
I mean, it's responsible. It's just it's millions of dollars in flowers. We are not talking, hundreds. We're talking tens of thousands of dollars in flowers worth of value. It's perishables. I mean, it's not like it's, wood that you can store somewhere and after 3 years you recover it and sell it. No, it's flowers, right? So, and because I know the hard work behind producing a freaking bunch of flowers and put it into a box and fly to Miami, because that was my first job, then fuck it. I just called everybody and told them. And then I called my boss and I told him, I called everybody and told this. So you're welcome. That's it. And I quit.
What did he say though?
He always uses expressions like, that's fucked up. Oh, we screwed up. We screwed up.
We screwed up. No.
Yeah, it's a pity. Stuff like that. He didn't much care. I don't know. I really never understood what his driving force was. I never understood what was his purpose on life besides screwing up other people. So yeah, that happened. I kind of fixed the problem in an elegant way. When I went back to Colombia, my work visa was approved, but there was no company to go back to work to, so it didn't really matter.
What did you do? Like what?
I stayed like an additional month. I remember because I've been an employee for so long. Technically, I don't remember what that's called in English, but the payment that you have the right to receive after leaving a company, like your indemnization or whatever. I know it has a different connotation, but that money, of course, lost. It was, I believe, 59 million Colombian pesos.
Isn't that like illegal? Like he can't.
We negotiated. I mean, I knew he wasn't gonna pay me. I knew that. I've seen him doing that so many times to so many people that I just knew it doesn't matter if it's the Pope or the U.S. president. He wasn't gonna pay him. So I negotiated something with him. Oh, actually, do you know what I negotiated? I remember we had, I believe, $15,000 in receivables in the US for some clients that were owing us money. After that tiny problem that we got him in, I don't know if they were gonna pay, but I told him, you know what? Why don't you endorse those invoices to me? So if they ever pay, at least I will recover something. I remember he never paid me. I mean, the clients, some of them did. I remember I recovered like $4,000.
Okay, that's something.
I mean, so just so you know, those 59 million, that's how much is that today? It's like $15,000.
Yeah.
I never got that. 4 nights worth of salary. I believe it was like 20 or 20 something million salary. I'm not talking about even my liquidation, my salary. I worked for him. Never paid.
That's actually crazy.
I remember we had some issue. I mean, the company had some issue in Colombia and they had to pay something urgently and there was no money. And then I had such a great relationship with the banks when I was in Miami that I called my banker in Colombia and told her I need 24 million now. And he told me, okay, no problem. I will disburse. When you come back to Colombia, you sign. They gave me the money without signing anything. A bank in Colombia. That's how good.
24 million were for what?
It was my personal loan to his company.
Okay.
To pay something that was urgent. I believe tax related, or I don't know. A lawyer. I don't remember. he never paid me that back. So now I have no salary, no indemnization, no loan back, no job, and just they hope that those clients would pay those invoices to me eventually. That's it. After 13 years of heavy, of heavy work, because I mean, it was crazy. I worked long hours, long hours. I gotta say, he was generous to me in different ways. Like he took me to lunch. He didn't like to be alone. He had pico y placa in Bogota, and he pretty much forced at least one person to stay at the office with him, so he wouldn't be alone. And most of the time it was me up to 7:30 p.m. waiting for pico y placa.
No way. This guy sounds evil. This guy is evil, like actually evil.
I don't know. I am pretty sure he now I understand he has a lot of trauma, untreated trauma. That's just the way he expressed all. I don't know. I don't know.
Wait, what did you do after? Like no job? What was next?
So what was next was a little bit of desperation. For I believe I was 27 or 28. Was already no, cannot be. I believe I was 30, 31 already or something like that. And then that was my middle life crisis. I believe with a lot of reasons though. I was, no job, no money, debts with the bank because of this guy, all of those things. And so I cannot say I was desperate really. I've always trusted my. This is gonna sound terrible, but I've always trusted my intelligence. I've always been aware that eventually would take me somewhere. It might be a job, it might be a business, it might be an idea. I don't know. I never knew exactly what, but I've always felt confident that everything's gonna be okay. I'm not a positive person. I don't believe in spirituality and energy and attracting and none of that crap. I don't believe in any of that. I just trust myself. Let's say, right? So I'm always positive that everything's gonna work out just because I trust myself. That's how it is. So, what happened next? What happened next is I was married, and then she had to take care of everything, and I had to.
House husband?
I was a house husband. Yeah, some kind of house husband. Oh my god, that's a crazy story. I had a bike, right, a motorcycle. I used to have two cars, one for the license plate restriction that we have in Bogota and all of that. So I sold those cars, and then I got a bike because it was faster. I was working in the free trade zone in Bogota, and the university was in the car an hour and a half away. So I always was late for classes. So I decided, let's sell these cars and get a bike. That's it. And I am a fast driver and a risky driver. So I was just happy that I could make it to class on time. And then when all this happened with my Mr. Satan, there was an app that is called Pickup in Colombia, which is an Uber for motorcycles, right? So I decided, fuck it, I'm gonna try this. And I remember it was a Sunday. It was the early versions of that app that was terrible. And then I gave it a try. I wanted to see how much money can you really make out of that. So it was a Sunday, and I installed it, signed up, got my first request. It was pretty close, so I went there to pick up someone, took him to his destination. Then boom, another request, and it was like 3 or 4 like that. I was just testing it out. So I was like, okay. The end of the day, I made like 50,000 pesos, Colombian pesos. That's, I don't know, $15 or $12. And I was like, okay, this is not bad.
Yeah, you're doing
So
good.
So I was kind of excited to, this could really work. So next day, Monday, 6 a.m., I woke up and got ready because it's rush hour. So I just guess it's gonna be a lot of requests. I'm gonna kill it today. And then it happened. I started receiving a lot of requests, and every time I was trying to accept one, somebody already took it. To accept it, somebody already took it. So it wasn't working for me. I believe it's because it worked better in Android than in iPhone. So I couldn't take any service at all during this whole morning. It was frustrating. I went back home, went back to sleep, and then I said, let's try in valley time, not in peak time, to see what happens. And then I did try, and then boom, one service. It wasn't that close to my house, but I took it. I went to pick that lady up, and then she got on the bike, and we were going through an avenue towards her destination, and then somebody signaled and pointed with his finger to my tire and telling me like it's flat. And I looked,
A flat tire
and it was
mid
flat.
ride.
It was flat. So I have to tell her, I'm so sorry, tire is flat. I have to cancel. She was upset. I canceled the service, so no payment. And then when I went to put air on the flat, it wasn't flat. It wasn't damaged. It was just low on pressure. Plus the client was little overweight. So that's why. And
That's
and
what
then I mean,
happened.
I put some air and the right pressure and all of that, and boom, second request. So I said, okay, let's do this. I went to pick up the guy. It was a neighborhood that had really muddy roads because it had rained, and then a car popped in a corner, and I brake so fast that I slide and fall.
No, you
So
had an accident.
I fell. It wasn't super fast. I didn't injure myself, but I fell. So when I try to get back on the bike to pick up the client, the little lever, to change the speeds and all of that was twisted. So I couldn't use the bike. I had to cancel, tell the client like, I'm so sorry, I just fell. So I have to repair my bike. And then it was an area in that neighborhood where there's workshops and stuff. So somebody with a lever just put it back, and it worked right away. And then I reactivate the app, and then was ready to take another service. Somebody requested the service. So I had my bike with some kind of a trunk, and then in the trunk is where I kept the passenger's helmet. So I got to the lady. She was getting ready to jump in the bike. When I went to open the trunk, they didn't have the key. I lost
No
it.
way.
I lost it when I
Fail.
No, stop.
yeah.
Stop.
So I carried it in my pockets or something, and then when I fell, I guess I lost it. So I told her like, I'm so sorry. I cannot open the trunk as I cannot retrieve the helmet since I cannot take you. So I will have to cancel, and I canceled.
No, three like cancel rides in a row.
3 cancel rides in a row.
Crazy.
And as I said, I'm not a believer. But I said, you know what? Universe is trying to tell me something. Let's quit this. I won't do. I will not do pickup anymore. I will not try this anymore. That's it. That day, a friend of mine sent me a screenshot of a Facebook ad for Teleperformance, an opening position for a what was that? Interpreter. it was an interpreter. So it wasn't just like a tech support position, but it was an interpreter. And I applied. They called me right away for an interview. I passed the interview on the phone. Then I went, in person to do the second interview. They explained what the job was about, and it was an interpreter for a medical consultations. Is one like a non-English speaker goes to the doctor. The doctor is American, so they call an interpreter, and I translate everything. Right? That
Was that hard?
It was because the training for that is like 2 months, and those 2 months is not full salary, and you have to learn medications, disease names, organs, body parts, a lot of different things that you never use in your regular day to day.
A lot of vocabulary.
Exactly, that was crazy. And yeah, I worked for that campaign like probably 5 months, and that's when Magaya called me to offer me a position, which was $40,000 a year. So I went from failing at bike riding to interpreter to Magaya
What?
implementations specialist. But hold on, when I quit my job with my client, with my ex boss, with Mr. Satan, one of the last things that I did at that company was telling him, you know what, if I'm gonna manage this operation, because remember the manager quit and went back to Colombia. If I'm gonna do this, I need you to hire a bookkeeper for me in Colombia. But I want that person to be exclusive for me. I will train her. I will teach her everything. I will use her to do all my accounting, because I was doing everything: customer service, bookkeeping, accounting, analysis, operations. It was crazy. Working Saturdays, Sundays, everything. So no. So he hired this lady, and she was really good. She was super fast using computers, which is something that I appreciate a lot from employees. She understood everything that I taught her. She did it perfectly. She invoiced, she recorded, she reconciled, she did absolutely everything. And then when I quit that job, I thought to myself, that's the business opportunity right there. Why don't I just hire people in Colombia that does bookkeeping for American companies? I already know how Magaya works. There's a lot of companies that use Magaya. Why I just don't do bookkeeping for them, right? Problem is, I was in Colombia, no money. How could I make an American company trust me with their financial information if they don't even know me, right? And then Magaya offered me the position, so I put that on hold a little bit. And then the pandemic hit, and then they laid me off. So I was again no job, but I had this idea, and I had a little bit of money because of the Magaya job, right? It was very well paid. So I had resources to start the business. And then because of the pandemic, the pandemic was a blessing for me, because it eliminated the challenge of the virtuality, right? It forced everybody to e-sign, and everything was Zoom, and everything was email, and the no physical presence was required. So I started to do some marketing, contacting people on LinkedIn. They reached out, they understood my business model. And my mentality when I decided to start the business idea was always to be ready for the next step, right? So I had no clients, but I was already paying an e-signature software, because if one day I had to sign a contract, how am I going to do that? So I pay for that. I didn't have any clients, but I still had a CRM already. I didn't have any work to do, but I already had a ticketing system in place, so that when that happened, I was ready. That has always been my approach to growing my business. Always be ready for the next thing, because that's how you grow without affecting the quality of service. right? And then
Your business, what does your business do? Like bookkeeping at that point?
it started only with bookkeeping, but then of course I started offering my services as a Magaya consultant. I didn't do that while I was working in Magaya because I mean conflict of interest. But then when they laid me off, I said, I mean, I'm sorry, Magaya, but I'm an expert at this, so I'm gonna do it. And then I started consulting for Magaya users. Magaya is an ERP, it's a logistics software that freight forwarders and warehouse providers use to control their operations. That's what I had done for so many years with that Forever 21 operations in so many different countries. So yeah, that's what I did. I mean, I took advantage of everything I knew at that point. And more than the things I knew, it's, I would say, my mindset, my approach to processes, my approach to data. I would say that's key for me. Because that's what allows me to understand clients' problems and solve them somehow, right? So, yeah, that's a little bit of my crazy work life story.
I love the crazy work life story. But wait, do you still have this company like to this day?
Yeah, it's been almost 6 years.
Ooh, congratulations.
Guess who was my first employee?
Who was it?
The lady that I asked my boss to hire.
To the
Oh
bookkeeping.
my God, that's actually like so cute.
So when when the business collapsed and I quit, I mean my Mr. Satan's business, I told that lady, and she was pregnant, and
You was pregnant?
she was pregnant, and then but he still laid her off, even though she was pregnant. Still, she did.
That's illegal.
I know he doesn't care.
Oh my God.
He wasn't even the legal representative of that company, so he didn't care. He didn't pay her. He didn't pay her, her indemnization or whatever that's called. You know what he gave her and a lot of different employees? Sweaters. Remember that? Yeah, remember that we had one of the business was about sweater knitwear stores and stuff like that. So he had a lot of ugly inventory that he never sold in the stores. So he gave a lot of people yellow and orange sweaters,
No way. This guy is evil.
including that pregnant lady. Yeah, including the pregnant lady. I believe she was one of the ones that got a good payment, which was a server, like a very big, robust computer that she could sell, I don't know, 4 or 5 million, something like that. So, I mean, that would pay her for her cost of living for a couple of months. But she was pregnant. I mean, she was having a baby, and not only she was pregnant, the father of the baby was gone. I mean, it was a sad story. And I remember the day I quit, I told her, I don't know when, but I have this idea, and you will be working for me one day. And she did.
Oh, that's so cute. Does she still work for you?
No.
She didn't. She doesn't. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I had to let her go because she was doing some shadowy activities. She had she learned from Mr. Satan, I guess, but she never left when I needed her full time. She never left the other job, so she wasn't responding to emails. She wasn't responding to clients. She wasn't. So unfortunately, I have a service business, and service is most important thing for me. You have to service clients well. And she wasn't aligned to that, so I had to let her go. But I mean, it was a cute story up to a certain point.
No,
No,
it was a
that
good
is-
story.
Yeah. So I remember I didn't have a good computer. I had a very old computer. But then when I quit, I told him, you know what, give me this computer. It was a laptop, a normal laptop, a Windows laptop. And I told him, I need a computer. So why don't you give me that? you are not going to pay me anything, not even my salary that you're owing me. So at least give me that computer. And he discounted that computer from the final liquidation that still he wasn't gonna pay. So it's not like he gave me that away. It was part of the payment. So that's the computer where I started building my ideas.
Oh my God. And now you have a whole company. That's crazy.
And now, so I started the company. She was first part-time, like a contractor. Then when I finally could establish the company in Colombia, then he was no longer part-time. He was full-time employee with all the legal, intricacies of employees and payroll. And today we are, I believe, 32 employees in payroll and like 10 contractors.
Wow, that's crazy. Congratulations. You did it.
I'm doing it. Yeah, I'm doing it. It's a never-ending process. It's especially because of my obsession to improving processes every single, all the time. But yeah,
As you said in the beginning, analyze, integrate, and optimize.
that's my thought process for every single thing I do. And every time I sit down with an employee and they show me what they're doing, I'm like, oh, that could be better. let's improve it. Sometimes it is not a priority, so we can do that later. But sometimes it definitely has a huge impact on the way we're servicing a client. So I would do it right away.
Oh, that's great. That's a lovely story. I loved it. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for asking me the interesting questions. Thank you for joining me in today's intro chapter. Next time, hopefully, we will have some guests, because I honestly hate to talk about myself, but we will come up with some interesting stories from other business owners, from other customers and friends that will definitely have a lot more to tell you about businesses and processes and optimization. Thank you all for watching, listening, and I'll see you on the next one.